So we're at episode 17 of Vinland Saga. Spoiler alert. Um, so it ended last time with Askeladd surrounded by his troops, threatening to take the prince. And that's how this one started. Um, Basically, Askeladd sent Bjorn, I think his name is Bjorn, his second in command, the prince and Thorfinn off into the woods. Um, of course, he knew what the men were going to do, so he set it up so they could take off. Um, they sent some men after them to go and get them. Meanwhile, the rest of the men were still surrounding Askeladd. So the men who went off to get the prince, they ended up trying to talk Bjorn down. He wouldn't do it, so they attacked the horse. Um, and then Thorfinn got nervous about Askeladd getting killed because, of course, he has never given up the fact that Askeladd killed his father, Thor's, and he wanted to be the one to kill him. So Askeladd headed back, not Askeladd, Thorfinn headed back toward the men because he didn't want the men to kill Askeladd. Thorfinn obviously wants to be the one to do that in a duel. Meanwhile, the last thing you see of the men, they kill the horse, topple the horse. The prince goes flying. Bjorn has something land on top of him. They thought they had killed them both. The prince survived, so did Bjorn. Then Bjorn was like, I hope you all are ready for this. Ate one of those mushrooms that he ate. I think it was like in the third or fourth episode, whichever one it was, when he lost his mind. I didn't realize he was the one that did it. But he ate the mushroom, and that's all you saw. So we'll see what happens with that probably next episode. Meanwhile, Askeladd is fighting all the troops, and he's slicing and dicing a lot of them, but they're not all dying. And he's lamenting the fact that he's getting so old that he can't fight his way out of 50 people. So like he's still with the gentleman's rules, and he gets mad and actually cuts one in half. This one isn't quite as bloody as the last one, but there's plenty of blood and guts in this one to go around. Hits him at the top of the head with a sword, through his helmet, splits him in half. And then he apologizes to the guys, like, oh, where am I? I'm sorry. Where are my manners? I can't believe I lost my temper. I'm okay now, That's awesome. So anyway, they are getting ready to they continue to fight him, and they're like, you know what, let's just take him out. And they get their bow and arrows out and aim them at him. It's very reminiscent of what happened to Thor's. Askeladd talks to him. It's like, hey, why don't you hold me as a hostage? I'd be a lot more valuable, and you're not going to be able to beat Thorkell's troops without me. He talks him down basically. So they decide to shoot at his legs. So he has like 3 or 4 arrows through his legs, one in his arm. He's pretty real damaged, but he's alive. So just as they're about to tie him up, their leader, the blonde brother, they say his name in this episode, I think his name is Thorgrim. He tells 3 of his men to tie him up, and the men just stand there. It's like, why aren't you tying him up? And then the men fall down dead because they've been hit with arrows. Thorkell's there. Yeah, da, da, da. So of course they're like, oh hell. Thorkell's troops surround those troops. Thorgrim tries to talk Thorkell down. Of course, Thorkell's not hearing it, and he's like, he talks to him for a minute, and he's all, we were trying to do this for you. We were going to give you the prince. And, he's all quivering and stuff. Meanwhile, Askeladd is on his knees with arrows in him, looking like a brave soldier, like a grown man, like a leader. Thorkell looks over. He's like, okay, you're the guy. Not this little quivering mass of whatever. You're the guy. And he talks to him for a minute, and then he's like, look, y'all been waiting to kill people for a while. Askeladd's troops are gathered together. He's like, except for Askeladd, don't kill this guy, kill everybody else. And tells them, get up. They all dropped their swords because they didn't want to seem threatening, obviously, and because they don't want to die. Didn't matter. And they're like, Thorkel's like, pick up your swords and fight like men so you can go to Valhalla. Because obviously, you can't go to Valhalla if you're not a warrior. Um, they don't pick up their sword. I'm sorry, they end up picking up their swords and they get slaughtered. And in the midst of getting slaughtered, it's this very comical scene where Thorgrim is facing Thorkel, and Thorgrim he hands Thorgrim his axe, and Thorkel starts stretching, and I mean it's ridiculous. He's just like, okay, let's go ahead and do this. Like Thorkel can kill like 10 men at once. He's gonna fight just a little half a man basically. So Thorgrim ends up dropping his sword and just he's got drool on his lips and his eyes are bugged. He's like basically in a catatonic state. And Thorgrim's like tapping him on the forehead. It's like, oh God, this isn't good. He wants to kill someone. He wants to fight. In the midst of all this, again, Thorfinn is headed back this whole time so he gets there. And Thorfinn is hot. He's like, don't you kill Askeladd. That's my guy. If you put your hands on him, I'm going to kill you. He's threatening Thorkel. Thorkel's troops are like, oh, wow, this kid is actually threatening Thorkel. This is crazy. So he threatens Thorkel. Thorkel's like, oh, okay, guys, we got to fight. And this is what Thorkel's been wanting. He's been wanting another shot at this kid. He was been dying for it. And Thorkel announces that he's going to duel Thorfinn. And the winner gets Askeladd. Obviously, he said, if you defeat me, you can even have one of my horses. And, Thorfinn's in a rage. He doesn't care, So he's getting ready. They're facing off, getting ready to fight. And that's how it ends, with them facing off. Even Askeladd is dumbfounded. He's like, I can't believe this kid is actually, what's he doing? He's an idiot. He's threatening Thorkel. Thorkel's men are excited because they get to see a duel. But that's how it ends. Also, there are clips throughout, particularly in the beginning, where you see Askeladd flashing back to his mom, and she's talking to him about this leader, Avalon, who went to this place where he's healing and supposed to be coming back, and you realize, at least for part of his life, Askeladd has been waiting for this great king that's worthy of him to come along. And he's telling the men he's getting old, and Avalon's not going to be here before I die. They don't know what he's talking about. They think he's hallucinating or something, but he's actually flashed back to when his mom used to talk to him about this great leader. He obviously had a very close relationship with his mother. It's actually in the credits as well, but there's a episode a while back that I talked about where he's actually carrying his mother off of a beach over his shoulder. And he looks remarkably similar to Thorfinn. It's funny, but he's carrying his mom, and he ends up taking care of her, obviously, because in this episode, he's feeding her. So, more depth into Askeladd's life. And now we're waiting for this duel, which I'm going to assume is going to take place in episode 18. And you see flashes of this very scene and probably what happens in this duel where Thorkel and Thorfinn are fighting. So looking forward to that. That's, this is going to be a pivotal scene, obviously. Anytime Thorkel faces off against Thorfinn, it's a big deal. Last time Thorkel lost 2 of his fingers before Thorfinn got away. So it's going to be something to see. And last time he wasn't ready for it. During that duel, he was talking about, wow, this guy's really strong. This time he knows how strong he is. Plus, he's gotten better, trained more and gotten stronger himself and wiser. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes. And if he can control himself, because the times he's dueled Askeladd, he's lost because he lost his temper. And you don't want to lose your temper against Thorkel. Thorkel loves to fight, but he doesn't get mad. He just loves to fight. Yeah, episode 18, I'm looking forward to it. This is an episode I think it's going to be really, really fun to see the results of how everything goes. I personally am hoping something happens where I doubt Thorfinn dies, but I really hope Thorkel doesn't die because he's a great character. He might be my favorite character after Askeladd. Thorkel is awesome, but we'll see what happens in episode 18.